pre-1950 bedroom hacks that still cut heating costs today, the forgotten winter survival secrets. They stayed warm without central heating, electric blankets or double-glazed windows, and somehow they did it cheaply. Long before thermostats ruled the wall, families survived brutal winters using smart, low-tech bedroom hacks that cost almost nothing. These weren't luxury upgrades. They were survival strategies. And here's the fascinating part. Many of them still outperform modern habits when it comes to cutting heating costs. Let's step back into the pre-1950 bedroom and uncover the tricks that kept people warm when fuel was scarce. Homes were drafty, and winter meant real danger. Heavy curtains weren't decoration. Before insulation foam and sealed window frames, windows were the enemy. Glass radiates heat outward fast, and older panes were thin, often single-glazed. So people fought back with fabric. Thick floor-length curtains, often wool or heavy cotton, were standard in colder climates. They weren't just drawn at night for privacy. They created a thermal barrier. Air trapped between the curtain and the window formed a buffer zone that slowed heat loss. Some families even lined curtains with flannel or old blankets. In wealthier homes, interlined drapes were stitched with extra layers specifically for winter use. In modest homes, quilts or spare bedding were simply pinned over windows once the sun went down. Here's the interesting part. This trick still works. Even today, heavy curtains can reduce heat loss through windows by up to 10 to 25%, depending on window quality. That's not nostalgia. That's physics. The bed alcove strategy. In parts of Europe, especially in Scandinavia and France, built-in bed alcoves were common. Instead of placing a bed in the centre of a cold room, people tucked it into recessed wall compartments or partially enclosed spaces. Why? Well, because smaller spaces are easier to heat. The alcove trapped body heat and reduced airflow. In some homes, curtains were drawn around the bed itself, creating a microclimate just large enough for sleeping. Box beds in 18th and 19th century northern Europe took this concept even further. Fully enclosed wooden beds with small doors kept warmth inside like a thermal capsule. It sounds old-fashioned. It was also efficient. Even today, canopy beds with heavy drapes or strategically positioned furniture can reduce nighttime heat loss in large, poorly insulated bedrooms. The principle is simple. Reduce the volume of space you need to warm. Layered bedding was a science. Before electric heating pads, people layered strategically. Linen sheets first, then wool blankets, then heavier quilts or eiderdowns on top. Wool was the hero material of the pre-1950 bedroom. It traps air inside its fibres, retaining warmth even when slightly damp. Unlike synthetic fabrics, wool regulates temperature naturally. Families often used multiple thin wool blankets instead of one thick one. Why? Because, well, layers trap more air than a single mass. Air is the insulator. In colder regions, feather beds, large sacks filled with goose or duck feathers, were placed on top of mattresses or used as top covers. They moulded around the body, minimizing cold air pockets. This wasn't random stacking. It was thermal engineering without the jargon. And here's a practical takeaway. Modern homes often rely on cranking the heater at night. Pre-1950 households relied on smarter bedding, lower room temperature, better bed insulation. The body stays warm while the air stays cool. That still saves money today. Bed warmers and hot bricks. This is where things get clever. Before bedtime, a metal bed warmer, essentially a pan with a long handle, was filled with hot coals and run between the sheets to preheat the bed. In more modest homes, bricks or stones were heated near the fire, wrapped in cloth and placed at the foot of the bed. It sounds primitive, but it targeted warmth exactly where it was needed. Instead of heating the entire room for hours, families warmed the sleeping area directly. Once inside, body heat took over. Modern version? Hot water bottles, reusable heat packs, even pre-warming sheets with safe heating pads. The concept hasn't changed in centuries. Heat the person, not the house. Draft stoppers and fabric seals. You know, old homes were drafty, really drafty. There were gaps under doors, cracks in the floorboards, and chimneys that just pulled warm air upward. People fought drafts with whatever they had on hand. Rolled fabric tubes, what we now call draft stoppers, were placed along the base of doors. Rugs were layered across wooden floors, and straw mats were common in rural areas to reduce the cold rising through the boards. In Britain and North America during the early 20th century, households often used chimney balloons or just simple cloth plugs when fireplaces weren't in use to stop warm air escaping. This wasn't about aesthetics, not at all. It was about survival. Even today, ceiling drafts can reduce heating costs significantly. And yet many homes still leak warm air through tiny gaps that cost nothing to fix. The four-poster bed advantage. The four-poster bed wasn't just elegant, it was insulation. Thick curtains around the bed trapped warmth from body heat and any nearby fireplace. In colder months, these curtains were kept closed at night, reducing airflow and conserving heat inside a compact space. In some cases, bed hangings were made from wool or velvet specifically for winter use. Wealthier households swapped lighter summer fabrics for heavier winter ones. This created a tent of warmth. In a large, high-ceilinged room, common in older homes, this design made a massive difference. The takeaway? You don't always need to heat the entire volume of a room. Create a warm zone within it. Closing off unused rooms. Pre-1950 homes didn't try to heat every room equally. That idea came much later with centralized heating systems. Instead, families closed doors to unused bedrooms. They sealed off parlours during harsh weather. In farmhouses, entire sections of the house were abandoned during winter months. Heat was concentrated where people actually lived and slept. This zone heating approach is incredibly efficient. It recognizes a simple truth. Empty space doesn't need warmth. Even now, reducing the heated footprint of your home can dramatically lower energy bills. Nightcaps and bed jackets, these might sound like relics from another era, but, you know, clothing really mattered. Men, women and children often slept in long nightshirts made from flannel or wool blends. Nightcaps were common in Europe and North America because, Well, a significant amount of body heat escapes from the head in cold environments. Bed jackets, those short quilted jackets worn while sitting up in bed, were especially popular in the early 20th century. They allowed people to read or rest without having to raise the room temperature. Layering clothing inside the bed reduced reliance on external heat. It wasn't glamorous, not at all. It was practical. Even today, instead of turning up the thermostat at night, adding thermal sleepwear can, honestly, achieve the same comfort at a lower cost. Rugs as thermal shields. Hardwood floors are beautiful, sure, but they are also cold. Before wall-to-wall carpeting became common, families layered thick woven rugs across bedroom floors. In colder regions, multiple rugs were stacked for extra insulation. This reduced conductive heat loss through the feet and minimized cold air circulation near the floor. Simple, effective, timeless. Modern heating systems often ignore floor insulation in older homes, but even a single dense rug can, reduce that chill dramatically. Fireplace timing and ember management. When fireplaces were the main heat source, timing really mattered. Families didn't let fires burn wildly through the night. Instead, they built strong evening fires to heat masonry walls and chimneys, which would slowly radiate warmth after the flames died down. Ash was sometimes left over embers to slow cooling. Fireplaces weren't just flames, they were, in a sense, thermal batteries. Heating peaked before bedtime, not during sleep. Then bedroom strategies, curtains, layers, enclosed beds took over. The rhythm was intentional. And here's the bigger lesson. Sustainable warmth isn't about constant heating. It's about smart heat retention. Why these hacks still matter. Pre-1950 households understood something modern systems sometimes forget. Heat is precious. Fuel once meant chopping wood, hauling coal, or spending hard-earned wages. Waste just wasn't an option. So people designed bedrooms that conserved warmth naturally. They minimized air movement, reduced exposed space, insulated with fabric, targeted heat to the human body. No electricity required. And in an age of rising energy costs, these principles feel surprisingly modern. You don't need to live in a stone cottage to apply them. You just need to think like someone who couldn't afford waste. Close the space, layer the bed, seal the drafts, warm the sleeper. That mindset kept generations alive through winters far colder than most of us face today. And here's the quiet truth. Many of these old strategies work better than simply turning up a thermostat.